this video, I'm going to talk about the Gather hymnal and how to tell if a hymn is intended to be played on the piano or on the organ. On the GIA website, it talks about the Gather hymnal, the 3rd edition, and it states that 70% of the hymns are piano-guitar-based titles, and 30% of the hymns are organ-based titles. To set the stage for this discussion, you'll want to make sure you have a really good understanding of the organ versus piano. I'm not going to go really deep into that in this video, but just a couple things to keep in mind. The range of the piano, there's 88 keys, and so there's lots of range, both in the low and the high notes. The organ only has 61 keys on each manual and pedal board, or manual and keyboard, and the pedal board has 32 notes. The note for the bottom range of the organ is C, the 2 ledger lines below the bass clef. The piano, we have our sustain or damper pedal, and we can change our dynamics easily through touch, whereas the organ, we don't have a sustain pedal, we have to use different techniques. And we control our dynamics through our registration, our stop choices, and our expression pedals. When playing hymns on the organ, typically if we're playing a 4-part SATB hymn, on the manuals we play the soprano, alto, and tenor voices, and we play the bass voice in the pedals. So how do we tell if it's written for the organ? So like I mentioned, it's typically 4-part writing, SATB, with really clear voice leading. The notes are going to all be within the range of the manuals and pedals. And there are hymns that are kind of ambiguous. There are some that are like, wow, that's definitely piano, and some that are like, wow, this is very organistic. There are hymns that are a little ambiguous and can be either way, but not all of them, not all of the piano hymns sound great on the organ, and not all of the 4-part SATB hymns are very exciting, just played as they are on the piano. Here is a good example of an SATB hymn that is nicely, it sounds really nice on the organ. So you can see that we have 4 voices at all times, so soprano, alto, tenor, bass. There's always 2 voices in the right hand and always 2 voices in the bass clef. Here we have 1 note, so it looks like it's 3 voices, but there's actually a stem here and a stem here indicating that it is 2 voices, so we do maintain our 4 parts throughout. So if we were playing this on the organ, we'd play this voice, and this voice in the manuals, and this voice in the pedals. This is a great one for the organ. Now, how to tell if it's intended for the piano. Typically there will be variable voice leading / textures, meaning it could go from 2 voices to 7 voices within a measure and no one would bat an eye. There's often arpeggiation and broken chord figures. Bottom notes are sometimes written below the organ's range. And very often the vocal part is a melody written out on a separate line with or without a descant. So here are some examples. This is hymn 506. We can see here we are starting out, this is the very bottom note on the organ manuals and pedal board, but here we're already below the range. So this one would have to be adapted if we played it on the organ. You can see the broken chord figurations going on. So this is one that is intended for the piano. It could be played on the organ, but it would have to be adapted. On Eagle's Wings, here there's the moving 8th notes. This would be, this would just not be ideal to be played on the organ with all of the textures. It's beautiful on the piano. So hopefully that is helpful in determining whether or not a hymn is intended for the organ or the piano.